Right, I've just snipped this off from the main stem, and it's a decent looking kodu, albeit quite small, but nevertheless, at least we got one this year. My greenhouse chilli plants have been doing splendidly this year. This is Prairie Fire, and in this quite large tub I've got 2 plants. Because the Prairie Fire doesn't tend to get really tall, the shape and form of this plant has made me think that I could get away with maybe putting 2 plants in a large tub, and I tried that, and hey presto, it seems to have worked. There's not much sign of disease, and whilst there are a number of well-developed chili pods that you can see, these are being followed by new growth, new flowers that are showing. So that's been one of the successes, I would say, one of the major successes of this year, this trialing of different techniques of growing chilies. You'll remember that I tried topping a chili plant as well, and that has worked quite well. It's given a number of branches, but this particular plant, I've just left it, these 2 plants, I've just left them as they are, and they're thriving. So this will be probably a way forward for us in the future. I thought we'd take another look at this wonderful black chili plant that I've got growing in this pot. It's actually 2 black chili plants, 2 calamaris, and it's still firing out these beautiful, delicate little purple flowers, and there's a large number of chilies that are forming. So it's a nice balance between the 1 or 2 pots that we've got at home and what we're able to grow in the glass houses on the allotment. So no, we're finding a good balance between chili growth in pots and chili growth within greenhouses as well. So I'm pleased with that. And most importantly, I've found that this calamaris is a wonderful tasting chili to be eaten. So it's one that we're going to keep the seeds back for and look to grow it in the future. The chili plant that I topped a couple of months ago, which has branched out really well. You can see these lateral branches that have spawned out from this plant. It's starting to produce some chilies. At the moment, the flowering isn't very abundant, but there are some signs of flowers that are going to form. And there are a small number of chilies that have developed, and I've got a feeling that these will be good eaters. So the early signs are promising. Like I say, it's a healthy specimen of a plant, so there's time for it yet to pump out new flowers and chili pods. So topping of this particular plant has been a good exercise. and I'm hopeful that there'll be more chilies to come yet. And in the veggie patch in the backyard, I've got a trailing marrow growing here, and this isn't the biggest plant, but there's a lovely developing marrow. This particular marrow looks like it's done with growing. It's actually formed on a quite small plant, and it may well be that it's not getting the nutrients that it would have got had it been a healthy, vigorous plant. So we may need to harvest this pretty soon. Just over here I have a round courgette from which we've harvested at least one large marrow sized courgette, and this one here, it feels like it needs to be harvested imminently. And that might just spur the plant into producing hopefully one or two more. We did a late sowing of coriander in this bed, and you'll be thinking I'm not seeing much coriander, but I'm seeing plenty of mustard greens. Now the mustard greens, the seeds must have just been in the existing soil. I sifted this and then I put it back on and gave it a feed, and then we sowed the coriander, which you can see here. But the mustard greens have just germinated on their own. As I say, they must have been in the soil anyway, and at the same time I can see some small amaranth seedlings. Now the purpose of this bed was to grow coriander over the autumn period, so the mustard leaves aren't going to go to waste. We're going to pick those off and have them over the coming weeks, and that should thin them out a bit and give the coriander a better chance to thrive. I'm not expecting anything much from the red amaranth. But the purpose of this bed is to try and give us a supply of coriander that we can then use over the winter months. So for those of you who haven't thought about another sowing of coriander, or mustard greens in this case, give it a go. It's ideal conditions now for growing of coriander anyway, because it's less likely to bolt, and the mustard greens are a crop that we wouldn't be looking to sow seeds in the summer months anyway. This is just what's come up, and as we're approaching the tail end of August, it may well be that the mustard will just do okay and not go to bolt. So this is worthwhile keeping a track on. The extra preparation that I put into this bed before I planted the eddos has meant that the plants have just been pumping out these leaves, and it's been leaf mould that I put at the bottom, a number of bags, and I think over the months, in the last 6 months or so, the leaf mould has been gradually feeding the soil, which has then obviously fed the plants. And that's a really important concept to remember. You've got to feed the soil in order to develop healthy plants. I've got a cucumber plant here which we brought over from the backyard over to the allotment. It was not doing well at all. In fact, it looked like it was going to not make it, and I brought it over here to one of the glass houses, and just a change of location in this case seems to have worked wonders. You can see a number of new cucumbers developing, and we're in the tail end of August, so anything we get now is an absolute bonus. We've had a small number of cucumbers from this plant, but nothing to write home about. And there was some leaves with some yellowing and what looked like powdery mildew. I cleared that up, and I'm hoping that we might get a few more cucumbers. I'd not featured my lemon balm plant for a while. This plant, in the last couple of months, we'd hacked it right back to its base, and mainly because I started to see some signs of what I thought was mildew forming, but now there's been a beautiful flush of new growth. And the two sunflower plants are at different stages. This one, which isn't very tall, it's around 5 foot tall, its flower head has started to dry up somewhat, and you can just about see those seeds. And yet the other one has opened up in the last week or so. It's actually a much bigger flower. It's got a much more significantly sized diameter, and we're going to get the seed production on that one a little bit later. So two plants that were sown around the same time. These plants were planted into the ground at the same time, within a yard or so of each other, and we've got one that's about 2 feet taller than the other.